Hey y'all, hey, this is Nala K. I'm a new YouTuber and I wanted to hop on to do a quick video. Well, it's not going to really be quick. It's going to be a little minute, but the Shanquella Robinson case has stalled and it has a lot of us frustrated, but there has recently been some updates due to Ben Crump and Robinson creating an 18-page document and forwarding that to President Biden with the hopes that this case will get, quote, a high level of diplomatic intervention. So I'm going to just go over that, some key parts of the 18-page document. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but I'm just going to focus mainly on the interview transcripts from the villa's administrator and the villa's concierge that worked directly with and spoke directly to the Cabo 6. So the news outlet that I got all of my information from is the Charlotte Observer. And I will post a link down in the description so you can go directly to the article. So basically the first page is the administrator's transcript. What was interesting to me, you can read this thing, I'm not going to read everything, but what was interesting to me in this one is that he was able to look at the video and see how the sun's rays were hitting the room, where they were landing in the room. And his deduction basically was that because of the rays hitting the headboard, the video had to be recorded between 7 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. And that time is, I think their time is similar to Mountain Time. Because I just bring that up because a lot of people were trying to tie the time that Shanquella's mom was saying she got the call to what time it was back then.
You get the call. Where are you?
When I got the call, I was out eating.
Okay, so you were what, in North Carolina?
Yes.
So North Carolina time, it was what, 7 o'clock at night?
It would have been about 6 or 7.
Okay, so she is in San Jose del Cabo, Mexico. So that I think would have been 3 hours behind. Like they're on California time, correct?
Yes.
So
all right. So, but the biggest thing that I took away from the administrator's interview was how he was able to tell, according to the Sun, around what time he thought that video was recorded. Now, the concierge's statement is super revealing. He has a lot of information that we did not have. And it does put, he adds a lot of pieces to this puzzle. So he said that Dejanay was the main contact person for the, hotel arrangements. And he was, she was the liaison between himself and the rest of the group. He says that she arrived around 8 p.m. 2000 hours is 8 p.m. And again, that is Mountain Time. Let's see. What was the other thing? Oh, okay. So when he said that the chef and the waiter were there. So when he arrived, he got there about 15 minutes before Dejanay was supposed to get there. But there were people already there. And he was surprised because he didn't think people were already there. He thought that they were all arriving with Dejanay. Now, he said when he got there, he saw a person of slim build, Afro-American, and about 25 to 30 years old, 1.7 centimeters tall. Just because I'm nosy, I'll tell you how tall that is. What? 1.75. Oh, meters. Maybe. Okay, let me go back in here and do it right. 1.75 meters to feet is someone who's about 5'9". And so someone 25 to 30 years old, 5'9", and it was he said, since he asked me who I was. And then he said there were guests. So more than one guest. That's what the chef told him. Now he said he saw that the chef told him that two people, a couple, had arrived at the villa a few hours before. Now he said he only saw the male guest that he described. I'm interested to see who the other guest was. Was it a woman or a man? I mean, not that that matters, but I'm just curious. Because he called them a couple. I don't know if he meant an amorous couple or just a couple as in two. All right. So he said they all looked excited. And I'm going to go into this part because, there was a lot of question about Nazir's arrival and who was there. So he said that when he introduced himself and he called Shanquella the main guest, showed them the rooms along with some of the guests, and they went back to the dining room to sign all of the registration documents. And these are the people. He said Khalil Cook, Malik Dyer, Winter Donovan, Shanquella Robinson, Elise Hyatt, Dejanay Jackson, and Nazir Wiggins. So I don't know what time this was, because he did not say. No, I do know what time this was. Wait a minute. So he registered Nazir Wiggins. And this had to be the 28th, because this is when they came. And he said, yeah, she was got. So this was October 28th. He said this is when he that Dejanay, he talked to Dejanay. She arrived at 8 p.m. He got there 15 minutes prior to because she thought she was going to get there at, he thought she was going to get there at 5:19, 17:19 would be 5:19 p.m. But then she had a delay. So this was the 28th. And he's introducing himself. He's coming the same day that they're all arriving. And he says that he registered Nazir Wiggins.
Oh, yes. I left on Saturday. The trip was from Friday to Monday. October 28th, 29th, 30th. 31st going home. Didn't even make it there. But when I got there, it took us an hour. My taxi driver, it took us an hour to get to the villa because there was traffic. I don't know why. So I got to the villa around 3:26.
So there's that. All right. So to continue, something else that was interesting. Okay. So they were all they all came to sit at the table to eat, and he said, and began to drink a lot. Those are his words. And then he said that is when he met Shanquella. Now she was listen to this, last one to approach the table to celebrate. He noticed she was in a strange attitude. She seemed not to fit in with the others, and she did not greet him with a smile. She was indifferent. Nothing to do with the atmosphere of the celebration. She seemed out of place at that party. So he's saying something. She was just in a weird mood. Her mood did not match everyone else's mood. So if we think back to the video of her coming into the villa, going back to that room, and everyone had a weird look on their face when she entered, we kind of all thought that, yeah, something wasn't right. They weren't feeling her. So evidently they probably were icing her out, talking crazy, slick at the mouth, etc. So that could happen. I mean, that sounds like what happened. So then, I'm reading this live with y'all. So excuse me for the pauses and the hemming and hawing I'm doing, but I wanted to give you an organic reaction. So then he said the next day at about 1:52 p.m., he got a text from Dejanay asking if he was available and where is the nearest medical service. He asked how he could support her if she was looking for a hospital. And she said, yes, I think my friend has alcohol poisoning and needs emergency service and someone to speak or translate to Spanish for us. He offered to send a doctor so the doctor could determine if it was necessary to go to the hospital, and the doctor would speak English. And she said, yes, please. And he said that it costs $100 for the visit plus the medicine, and asked if she agrees. And she said, yes, as soon as possible. And he said he would make the call, request the service. And she said, yes, please. So around 2 p.m. on October 29th, he called the doctor, and they redacted the doctor's name. That doctor is their contact for medical attention of the guests. And he put her number. So then they said in about 4 minutes, Dejanay texted them again asking what I had been told. And I told her that a doctor is going to contact her to check her friend. And she says, okay. Now he said at 16:25, that's 4:25 p.m., somebody texted him and told him that the girl had to be hospitalized. So that must be the doctor. Because the evaluation, after being evaluated, she has to be hospitalized. And then her friends were trying to figure out if they had insurance. And the concierge asked, is she in serious condition? And the doctor said no, but that she does need an IV. She's practically unconscious. Practically unconscious? How are you practically unconscious? And that's why she had to be hospitalized. Now, the administrator called him. Remember, we just talked about the administrator's interview. And the administrator asked if he had requested an ambulance because the ambulance was trying to get in. He said no. And he said, well, the concierge said later someone called him to tell him that the guest had died. Now, he's not saying the time that passed between him talking to the administrator, talking to the the doctor that I'm assuming that was giving them the information, but she had died. And he wanted him to get there as soon as possible, the concierge. So they were asking, the person who called asked the concierge to get there as soon as possible. And that he was already on his way. Oh, you know what? I think that's the administrator. Yeah. So yeah. And I think I read the administrator did that. So that was the administrator who contacted him saying, get there right away. He was on his way. So he was, he headed there. He found a couple of municipal police officers. Municipal typically means city or local. And they were in the parking area of the house. And then there was one guest who was African-American, regular build, short hair, coming and going from the house and calling by cell phone a relative or friend in the United States using blank as a translator. Now, this is the administrator, because the administrator said he served as the translator for them during this time. And then the concierge also saw Dejanay making contact with the male guest on several occasions, entering and leaving the house. So they're kind of like pacing back and forth. Now, I'm guessing the male is Khalil, the one who the mother said that he took trips with them. And she did say that he reached out and called her. So that is probably the time that he's speaking to the mom. So during this time, he was waiting on blank to tell him what to do. It's probably the administrator, since he are my concierge. Oh, so this is somebody different. His concierge team leader. He was waiting to get directive from his team leader. He went in the house where he observed the guests, relaxed, calm, sitting in the living room area near the bar and dinner table. Pardon. So he was looking for Dejanay to give her his condolences. He said, when I talked to her to give her my condolences, she thanked me, told me that they had talked to Shanquella's mom, and mentioned that this was so fast, quote, to lose her in an instant for having had too much alcohol. Oh, that's Dejanay trying to drive her narrative home. Okay. And so he asked, can I give you a hug? And she said, yes. But he said her hug was very indifferent, very cool, very cold, in his words, quote unquote. So he saw a very sad guest, a skinny girl, and she was in pain. I wonder, was that physical or emotional pain? Like sadness. I'm assuming, because he did say sad guest, but there's no elaboration on that. So he said he left to go outside to get him some space. And then minutes later, he heard laughter. And he said he approached blank. It's been redacted. We don't know. But he said that person told him to leave to go back to his villa in Cabo San Lucas. And he will be in charge of following up and supporting the clients and authorities. So that's probably the team leader. Well, no, I don't know, because the redaction, the length of that redaction is about the same amount of length as the redaction of the administrator. So that's probably the administrator telling him that. Okay. So he said goodbye. He left for Cabo San Lucas. And that, he said later around 21 to 21:30. So that is 9 to 9:30. The main guest contacted, so that's Dejanay, asking for transportation to go to dinner, because they hadn't eaten anything all day due to the situation. That's interesting, because if this happened, if the video was recorded around 7 in the morning and they saying they ain't ate all day, but Khalil in his video said that after he got there, they were talking about cooking.
I was there the whole time in the game room, and then they was talking about cooking, so we made it to the living room.
All right, so then, okay, so to continue, they wanted he called, requesting transportation, and they were going to go to San Jose. San Jose, Mexico is about 30 minutes from where they were, Los Cabos. So at the end of the service, the driver reported that his service had ended, and he left the guests at the airport hotel. So the next day, that person was told by the maid no one was in the villa, and the maid was asking, the person was asking if he'd been notified that they were leaving. And he said no. The day before, they only wanted a ride to get something to eat. So later, around 11 a.m. in the morning, he sent a message to Miss Jackson Dejanay, offering support, asking if everything was okay and if there was anything he could do. But he didn't get a response until the next day. So this was the 30th when they discovered they were gone. So then on the 31st, he didn't say at what time, but on the 31st, he finally gets a reply, and she's saying, is there anything we need to do to check out? Now, this is interesting because this is her trying to act like they're still at the villa. Is there anything we need to do to check out? Probably not knowing that it's already been discovered that they weren't there. So that's why she didn't respond, because she was trying to make it seem like they were still there. And they just maybe decided to leave the day they were supposed to leave, because it was booked from the 28th of October to the 31st. So yeah. So they were trying to make it seem like they were still there that whole time.
The trip was from Friday to Monday, October 28th, 29th, 30th. 31st going home. Didn't even make it there.
The concierge says that days later, he doesn't say how many days, but days later, he found out there was a lot of controversy because of the news and video of the main guest. He said that the video of the main guest, Dejanay Jackson, hitting her friend Shanquella, the guest who died, he said when he saw the video on social media, he realized that practically the main guest had manipulated me with the information she provided of what happened to leave the country as soon as possible. And he says it should be noted that she put the name of Nazir Wiggins as the last person on the... Now, there was one last thing that I wanted to point out. In the medical examiner's report, it was stated that there were friction burns found on Shanquella's left ankle. That leads me to think someone dragged her. Now, according to the National Center for Biotechnology Information, a friction burn is an abrasion. And so, caused by a hard surface. And it made me think about the Bodies video that Khalil Cook recorded and uploaded. She was outside in the hammock in that video. And Nazir also talked about being outside when he recorded a video after arriving and checking on Quella. So just something to think about. We finally were able to put together, because there were so many questions surrounding this whole thing as we were kind of spoon-fed information over the weeks after the news broke. But please leave a comment, subscribe, like. I will be dropping content, trying to do it on a regular basis. Again, I'm a new YouTuber. This is actually my first video post, and I'll be doing shorts as well. I will put out a trailer that really kind of talks more about what my channel will be about, but I did want to take a moment to try to push this case back out. I mean, I'm small. I don't have any subscribers, but who knows? Someone will click on this, that it'll magically pop in their timeline, and then they'll view it, and then maybe they'll share it, and then maybe the algorithm will pick it up. Who knows? But we just want to keep this case going. Thanks so very much for listening. Thanks so very much for putting up with my crappy audio. And just thanks for your time. You could have clicked anywhere, but you chose to click here, and I thoroughly appreciate it. Again, like, share, comment, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and ready, set, let's chat.